Hello everyone. My name is Morgan Huntington. I'm our admission counselor for our College of Performing Arts here at Chapman. This is our how to apply to the College of Performing Arts session. So this is applying to any students who are interested in dance, music, or theater programs with us. We will be doing Q&A through the Q&A service. So feel free to put any questions you have there throughout the presentation. I have some of my colleagues who are answering some questions in the chat as well. And then we'll have some time at the end to do some live Q&A there. If we don't get to your question, then we will follow up with you afterwards in an email. So don't worry if we don't answer it today, we'll make sure we still get you an answer there. And then just so everyone knows, this is going to be recorded. So if you want to watch the recording later or send it to anyone who couldn't make it, we will be able to get that out to you after the event. So just to keep in mind, it looks like we have a pretty good group in. So I think that we're going to go ahead and get started. So again, as I said, this is about how to apply to our College of Performing Arts at Chapman. And this is just a little bit of what we're going to cover today in our presentation. So types of programs, both at Chapman and at other schools, how to choose your major to apply for with us, the type of research you should be doing when you're looking at different schools for the performing arts, what our application and audition process looks like, which I'm sure is a very important topic for a lot of you right now. And then lastly, some resources to learn more after the fact as well. And then, as I said, we'll have a lot of time for Q&A as well. All right, so talking about different types of degrees that you can get both at Chapman and at other schools that you attend. A very common type of arts degree is a Bachelor of Arts or a BA degree. So a BA degree is typically less credit requirements than some other types of degrees we'll talk about after this. So it's a really great option if you want to have a little more flexibility in your major. Maybe you want to add a second major. We have a lot of different BA degrees at Chapman and dance, music, and theater that are great options if you want to study that on top of another area on campus. And you're still going to be getting that great education in your arts area, but still having a little more room in your schedule to explore other areas as well. And then another common type of degree are our Bachelor of Fine Arts, which is a BFA degree, as well as a Bachelor of Music degree. So for both of these types of programs, there are a lot more major requirements, a lot more credits required, which means more hours and less room in your schedule for other classes. You'll still definitely have room for those GE courses and a minor if you're interested, but doing something like a double major is a bit trickier with a BFA just because it is a lot more credit heavy in terms of the amount of classes you'll be taking. You'll be doing a lot more practical classes. So whether that's a technique class for dance, practicum, ensemble requirements, anything like that, you'll be doing even more of those in these BFA or BM degrees. And typically taking those classes most days of the week and all 4 years of college. So again, it's a little more structured and sequential. If you are interested in doing one of these programs, it's a really, really great fit. It's going to be a little more focused in on that area in your education overall. Great. And now types of schools that you're looking into. So there's kind of two big categories of schools you could apply to when you're looking for performing arts programs. One type of school is an arts school. So we have a few examples here: Cal Arts, Otis College of Art and Design, Rhode Island School of Design. These are just a couple options, but to give you an idea of kind of those sort of schools I'm talking about. So with these art schools, there typically is a very small or sometimes even no general education requirement. So that means those major classes you're going to be taking in whichever creative area you're studying are going to be the primary focus of your education. You won't be taking other classes in math or writing or anything like that outside of it. Or if you do, it'll be probably fewer requirements. So this is going to be a great option if a student doesn't really want to continue with any of those other classes. Maybe they do want to be fully focused on that artistic area. That's a great option to look at, these art schools. And then the other option is a comprehensive school. So this is where we fall. Chapman is a comprehensive school. Some other examples that are nearby us as well: Loyola Marymount University, University of Southern California. So a lot of other schools that you've heard of are probably going to fall into this category. So comprehensive schools, um, separate from art schools, you actually will be doing those general ed classes on top of your major courses that you're taking. On top of that, hopefully you're also going to be adding a minor. You could add a second major, things like that. And that could be in another arts area, it could be in another area on campus, sciences, humanities, anything that you're interested in. So these are going to be really great options if, again, you want to focus on both that artistic area and another area in your academics, or just get that more well-rounded academic education. And also getting kind of more of a traditional college experience through those classes, as well as through the other involvements that you can have on campus. So again, these are just kind of to help you out if you're in the process of deciding what type of school you want to apply for, what type of program you want to apply for, to give you an idea of what to expect with all of those. All right, so I'm now just going to talk about the majors that we offer here at Chapman, so that you can, again, prepare for which exact program you're hoping to apply for. So I'm first going to talk to all of my dancers out there. We have two dance majors here at Chapman, a BA in dance and a BFA in dance performance. So as I was just saying, a BA is going to be a great option if you do want to double major, a little more flexibility. BFA is going to have you dancing all 5 days a week, all 4 years of college. So it's a little more time intensive and taking a little more of those technique classes. But one thing that's unique about this program here at Chapman is that all of our dance majors enter as a BA in dance. So this, I believe, is the only program that works at Chapman this way. You enter as a BA in dance, and then it isn't until the end of your sophomore year that you decide if you want to apply for that BFA dance performance. And you would audition for that program, only open to those dance majors. So if any of you are hoping to major in dance, there's not too much decision. You'll all be applying into that BA. But it's helpful to know if you may want to eventually pursue the BFA or stick with the BA. You kind of can make that decision as you go down the road. One other note that I'll mention, I'm primarily speaking about our majors in the performing arts here. We do have minors in several of these areas as well. Those you wouldn't add until you're a student at Chapman. So if you do have any questions about those minors, feel free to let us know. But this is going to be a little more major focused. All right, and then into our music department. So we have several different music majors here at Chapman. Our BA in music, we have two emphasis areas within that BA, music and culture and music industry studies, which is more focused on the business side of music. And then we also have several Bachelor of Music degrees in performance, composition, and pre-music education certificate. The name is a bit of a mouthful, but basically that's a great option if you want to go into being a K through 12 music teacher, or maybe a college professor in music, anything like that. That music education certificate program is going to be great for you. And within any of those programs, you do still audition, you have chances to perform. And you can focus either on being a vocalist or whatever instrument that you are have your background in or are interested in. All right, and now lastly, our theater majors we have here at Chapman. So we have three different theater majors, a BA theater, which is going to be more of a rounded theater degree to learn all about performing, but also directing, stage management, theater technology, things like that. So a little less performance-based and more of that rounded theater education. Our BFA theater performance degree is more of a traditional stage acting degree, again, a BFA program, so more credit intensive. And same goes for our BFA in screen acting, focused more on film and television acting. And this is a unique program as well in that our curriculum for the screen acting program is shared between our College of Performing Arts here and our Dodge College of Media Arts. So you're getting curriculum from both the performing arts side as well as from our film school there. All right. So again, those are some things that you want to kind of figure out what it is that you're applying for. But once you've narrowed it down to what type of program you want, what kind of school you want, these are some great questions to ask people and different types of things that you should be looking for in schools. So if any of you have questions on any of these, feel free to ask us in the Q&A. So facilities and resources, super, super important for all of our students, especially in these performing arts areas. What kind of things are you able to access as a student? Hands-on experience, performance opportunities, those really go hand in hand in the performing arts. How much are you going to get to perform? At Chapman, all of our students get to perform, get to start auditioning to perform their freshman year. So you have a lot of opportunities, and we have many, many shows that go on in all of our departments, and we are primarily undergraduate for our College of Performing Arts. So you're not competing with any grad students there. Industry connections, kind of what sort of opportunities. This goes also with career preparation and career paths that it'll be preparing you for. But what kind of connections do the faculty have, the staff have for those students to really get a foot in the door in the industry they want to go into? I know at Chapman, we're able to host a lot of great professional groups through workshops, master classes, mock auditions, all kinds of different things. And so we're able to make a lot of those connections as well as connecting you with our alumni and things like that. And career paths, just to expand on that a little bit, it's important to kind of explore, have an idea of what you want to do in a career. Certain programs are going to be more tailored to certain, careers in that world. So make sure that your program that you're choosing or that the programs that you're applying to are conducive to what you're hoping to achieve after college, and that they're going to help you kind of get there. And then lastly, location is important as well. It's going to depend on what you want to do, but one, just where do you want to live and what kind of campus do you want to be on? But also, being in the performing arts, having those connections nearby is so beneficial for our students. So we're really lucky at Chapman that we are in Orange County, California, not too far away from LA, which is obviously a huge arts hub, but even Orange County has a lot of great artists and everything like that. So we're able to bring in a lot of really great groups because of that and the location we're on, and also just have some great opportunities for our students to participate in there as well. All right, and then here's just some examples of some questions that may be helpful to ask. Feel free to just look through these really quick, but things like what type of choreography opportunities are there? Are you able to study abroad? Can I double major, add a minor? Performance opportunities. So a lot of different types of questions, but again, things to just get going in your mind to not only ask us, but ask other schools that you're looking for as well. Okay, now I'm sure why a lot of you are here is about how to actually apply for these programs. So the exact requirements are going to vary for every major that you're applying to. Unfortunately, these are all on our website. So you'll be able to see all of those ahead of time, but you can also, you'll also see them once you have access to your creative supplement. But in general, the process for our performing arts students to apply is first to submit the Common App. So we are on the Common App system. No matter what major you're applying to at Chapman, you will want to apply on the Common App, and then make sure whatever that major you want to focus is selected as your primary major. An important thing to know here is if you are hoping to eventually double major, anything like that. Example, say you want to be a double major in dance and business. That's fantastic, and Chapman is definitely a great place for you to do that. But you only enter as one major. So you can definitely list that interest in your second major on your application, but you're only applying to one major at a time. That second major you can add once you're a student at Chapman. When it comes to these performing arts areas, it's super important to put whatever arts major you're interested in as your primary major. Reason for that is, as you can see here, we have some additional requirements for these, and they tend to be some of our more competitive programs on campus. So it's pretty unlikely, depending on the major, but that you'll be able to add one of these performing arts majors once you're already a student at Chapman. So it's important to apply into that first. And then if you do want to add a second major, there's lots of options so that you can add it once you're a student there. So I always just want to make sure people know that. If you're planning to, again, I'll use my example, double major in dance and business, make sure you apply into dance, and then business is one that you can add once you're a student at Chapman. So once that is all in, and again, as long as that creative major is selected as your primary major, you will get emailed with access to your Chapman applicant portal and directions on submitting your creative supplement, which you will submit through that applicant portal. This can take up to 48 hours after you submit your Common App. So be sure to give yourself a little bit of time before deadlines to get that access and submit all of your work. Again, all of these requirements are listed on our website. So if you have any hard time finding those, feel free to reach out to us. But that way, if you do want to prepare those materials ahead of submitting your Common App, you have the ability to do so. Everything on our website is up to date. So once you do get access to that applicant portal, you can submit your creative supplement. So for your creative supplement, again, those requirements will vary per major, but typically they're going to ask for a goal statement. There's a specific prompt for each, but it's usually 500 to 1,000 words asking about why you're interested in Chapman, how our program is going to help you in your career goals in this area, something along those lines. So just a short supplemental question. They will often also ask for a resume. So this will be a resume showing your creative work, either specifically in that area or that area as well as other creative areas. I'll give an example of our screen acting program. You can definitely include your acting experience on there, but you can also include any film experience you've had. If you've made any short films or taken a class or anything like that, definitely include that as well as your acting experience. So it can be a mix of a few different things. Whereas if it's for dance, it'll probably be a little more focused on your dance experience. So feel free if you have any questions about that to ask. Most of our programs also do require a headshot. This does not need to be a professional headshot by any means. It could be taken on your phone. That's totally fine. It's really just a way for us to put a face to the name when we are looking at different applicants and shaping our class. And then lastly, some of our majors will also require an essay. Our BA music degree, one of our BA music degrees, as well as our music education degree will require an essay. That's just to see a writing sample. It doesn't need to be on any exact subject. So just to keep that in mind, but that's only for a few of our majors. And then lastly, you will do your media upload. So for a lot of our majors, this is going to be one of the most important parts when you're specifically looking at this creative supplement aspect. So this will be your pre-screen audition videos for each major. For our music majors, those requirements are going to vary based off of both the major you're applying to and the instrument or vocal area you're in. So you can find those exact requirements when you go to apply, as well as on our website. Then for our dance majors, this is going to be a 2-minute solo or 2 1-minute solos if you want to showcase a couple different styles. And then for our theater majors, for those BFA degrees, theater performance and screen acting, it will be 2 monologues, slightly different requirements for the 2. And then we also have what's called a wild card video, which is a way for you to show a special skill or hobby of yours outside of acting. So that's just for those theater majors. And then a portfolio as well is what would be submitted for this media upload. That primarily applies to our BA theater degree. So the bulk of that application is going to be that portfolio submission, which is different from, those pre-screen audition videos. Our BA theater students can submit a monologue if they would like to, but it is optional. It is not required. So that is more of a portfolio-based application as opposed to the rest of our programs are all audition-based. Okay, so important thing to know is deadlines for all of these things. So a question I very often get is, do we have the same deadline for the Common App and the Creative Supplement and that media upload as well? And the answer is yes. Any deadlines you see are going to apply to all of those pieces, which is why I mentioned before, make sure you give yourself a little bit of time between submitting the Common App and the Creative Supplement so that you're getting it all in by that deadline. We will have a short grace period after it as well. So if you're having any technical issues, anything like that, you can always send us an email, but there's a little grace period, so you don't need to be too stressed about that. So November 1st, coming up in just a few weeks. So very important deadline to remember. This is our priority deadline for dance, theater performance, and screen acting. So what a priority deadline means is that these are, again, some of our more competitive programs. So it's going to make you a more competitive applicant if you are in this first group of students who apply. You also are going to have a lot more options when it comes to those live auditions, which we'll talk about shortly. But a lot of them are already passed by the point our regular decision deadline takes place. So just an important thing to keep note of, specifically for those dance and theater programs. A lot of them happen earlier in the year. So you definitely want to apply by this priority deadline if you're able to. Very highly recommended. Um, and then this is also the day that you'd be applying for either early action or early decision. So if you're applying for a priority deadline for any of these programs, you still are going to choose if you are an early action or early decision applicant. Early action is non-binding. It's just applying early so that you are getting your application in that first group that's being reviewed. Early decision, on the other hand, is a binding application. So if you are admitted to our program, you have signed a contract that says, I will attend Chapman if I am admitted. So important to know the difference between those two and decide which is a better option for you. But again, for those priority deadlines in dance, theater performance, and screen acting, you could apply as either option, early action or early decision. And then lastly, we have our January 15th deadline, which is our regular decision deadline. So if you're not able to make it by that early decision, no problem, early action, early decision, no problem at all. You can apply by that January 15th deadline and still be fully considered for everything. I also, if we have any transfer students who are listening today, the transfer deadline for the fall semester is February 15th. However, for these performing arts programs, it's recommended to apply by that January 15th deadline as well. Again, that's because of the timing of these auditions and making sure that you're still able to attend some. I have listed below here, all of those live auditions are going to start up in November, and then they're going to conclude by the end of February. And so if you don't apply till February 15th, you're really limited in the number of options you have. So important to apply by that January 15th if possible. And yeah, and then you'll have your live auditions. We'll talk about that a little bit more here. So Chapman has a two-step audition process. First is that pre-screen audition. Second is what we call live auditions. So this applies for every program at Chapman, every performing arts program at Chapman, except the BA theater. As I mentioned, that is a more portfolio-based application. All these other programs are more audition-based applications. So first step is that pre-screen video. Our faculty are going to review that once you submit it, and they'll decide if they want to invite you for a live audition. So these live auditions are invitation only, which is why we also don't post those dates publicly for the live auditions. But if you are invited to a live audition, you'll get an email letting you know that you've been invited, and it'll list out all the potential dates that you could attend, and you can sign up for the one that you would like to. In all of these options, we have both in person at Chapman's campus. That is a super common option for those live auditions. We have virtual auditions in every area as well that will be held over Zoom. Still a live audition where you're getting to interact with the faculty one-on-one. It'll just be virtually instead of in person on our campus. And then for our theater majors specifically, we do also have some regional auditions as well in Chicago, New York, and Los Angeles this year. So a lot of different options, hopefully, to accommodate however you need to best audition with us. If you're not able to travel to Chapman's campus, no problem. That's why we have these other options. But if you do get a travel campus, it's always great to see everything in person. And a lot of times we line them up with a performance or something like that. So you can hopefully make the most of your trip. And then in your live auditions, again, they're going to slightly vary depending on which major you're applying to. But typically you're meeting one-on-one or you with a handful of other faculty. And you're going to present usually the same material from your pre-screen audition. So if it's in theater, you're presenting those monologues. Music, you're going to perform those pieces that you submitted. And for dance, you'll perform your solo. Doesn't need to be the same thing from your video. It could be different, but that's totally up to you. It absolutely can be the same one that you submitted in your pre-screen. And it's just your choice. Just make sure it still follows those pre-screen requirements there. And then typically there is a short interview portion, very casual, just a chance for our faculty to get to know these students better. All of our programs are very personalized, and so it's important to us in this audition process to really include that in our evaluation of all of our students, looking at both their artistic talent as well as kind of getting to know them as a person and seeing how they would fit into our programs. So that's an important aspect of the auditions as well. And then lastly, sometimes our faculty in any area may ask you for improv, a little, a redirect for theater, sight reading for music, something like that. So just to be aware that there could be that portion as well that's going to have you think a little more on your feet, which is a great way for our faculty to see what kind of a student you'll be and how adaptable you are and, how you are at taking direction and things like that. So that's what you can expect in those live auditions. All right, we're just about wrapped up here. So I just want to leave you with some additional resources if you do want to learn more about any of our departments or Chapman or anything like that. And then we'll get into the Q&A as well. I see that we have some questions in the Q&A now. So first off, I want to shout out our open house that's coming up in a couple weeks on October 26th. So if any of you are local to Southern California, happen to be in the area at that time, we will have an open house event on campus for you to come see campus, talk to our faculty, talk to some current students. So definitely a great option if you're interested in that. We also have campus and department tours. So I always recommend students do the main campus tour if you're visiting, but some of our departments, dance and music, do have specific tours of those departments as well. So those are always great to see those facilities. If you're in screen acting and you want to see our film school as well, you can do a tour of Dodge, our film school there too. Also, we're a College of Performing Arts, so we have a ton of student performances happening all year long. So if you ever do come and visit or you live locally and you want to come see a show with us, we'd love to have you. And it's a great way to see our students in action and see if it seems like it'd be a good fit for you. And if you do that, just definitely reach out to me. I'll have my email on the next slide here. And we can usually give you a discount code for tickets when you do attend. So just something to keep in mind. Also, one thing that I don't think I mentioned before, but I have written here, COPA student performances. So COPA is our short nickname for our College of Performing Arts. So if you hear that or see that anywhere, that stands for College of Performing Arts. And then lastly, contact us. So I'm going to give my email. We also have a chat with a student service through our website. We can always connect you with students or faculty as well. So don't hesitate to reach out to any of us if you do have questions. Here is my email, as you can see, copaadmit@chapman.edu. So that's the end of my presentation, but we can go into some Q&A now, as I see that there are some in the chat already. My team has been doing a great job of answering these, so that's fantastic. Okay, I see a question about how would you describe the process of the introductory session and interview with the music program director for vocal performance for auditions? So for our auditions with music, they'll kind of function very similarly what I explained with other programs. So you're going to come, we'll do a welcome, and we usually have a student panel for you to hear from our chair, some of our current students, learn a little bit more about the program. And then you'll be called into a room one at a time when it is your turn. You'll meet with usually 1 to 3 faculty members. So it'll be a few faculty members in our vocal performance program. You'll perform a piece for them. Again, probably that piece that you did in your pre-screen audition. And then that's when they may ask you to do sight reading, tonal reading, anything like that, or ask you a couple questions about your interests. So it's usually a process that's about, I would say, 5 to 10 minutes at minimum, maybe 15 or so maximum. And yeah, it's going to be just you interacting with them. Another important thing to note for our music programs is that we do offer free lessons for our prospective students. So if you're interested in working with the faculty and seeing if it's a good match for you, or also, kind of getting an idea of what exactly to expect in those auditions, because it really does vary so much by instrument or vocal area, you can always sign up for a free 30-minute lesson, either virtually or in person. And that's a great chance to also get a better idea of what to expect in those auditions. Yeah, great question. Okay, I see that we have a question about putting a second choice major for a second arts program. I'll just read this question out actually, because I think that will be the easiest. So the question is, on the Common App, it provided the option for a second choice major. Do you recommend that I choose a second choice major with a different audition process if I am pursuing an audition-based major for our first choice? So in short, you can put anything you want for that second choice. But there's a lot of nuance in kind of what to put there. So I'll go into that a little bit further. You're only submitting a creative supplement for your primary major. So you can put a second artistic major for that second choice, but just know you're not going to be submitting those additional materials. So it's unlikely that you'll be admitted into that program. However, there are some times where maybe we don't think it's a great fit for your first choice, and we'll reach out and ask you for some additional materials for your second choice. So you'll never submit those right away. It's important to also think about some of our more competitive majors: screen acting, theater performance, dance, anything in the film school. We don't typically offer those to anyone who is listed as a second major because we have so many applicants for first majors. So keeping that in mind, some important things I will add to that to kind of qualify it is, if you are applying for screen acting and you're also interested in theater performance, you can definitely write that as a second choice, because you'll have the faculty from our theater program reviewing you in those auditions. And so your audition can kind of serve for both. We're always going to primarily consider you for that main primary major. But if you have that other one that's in the same program, we may be able to consider you for that as well. Same goes for some of our music majors. Maybe you're applying first choice composition. Your second choice is the BA in music or music performance. Definitely encourage you to do that because it's all in the same department. So they are able to review you for some other majors still in that area. So there's a lot of nuance to kind of exactly what to do. If you have a specific scenario, definitely feel free to send me an email and walk through exactly what you're hoping, and I'd be happy to kind of counsel you through what the best choice for that would be. And then the last thing I'll say, you definitely don't need to do a second choice major. If you are applying for dance and that's all you want to do, you don't need to put a second choice. That's totally fine. We want to have you choose a program that's going to make you happiest and most successful in college. So don't feel like you need to throw a second choice on there just to add to your application. Only put it down if you are genuinely interested in pursuing that second choice major, if that first choice doesn't work out. So just another thing to keep in mind. Okay, I see we have a lot of questions here. Okay, for the dance major videos, exactly what are you looking for? Techniques, styles? Great question. I'm actually going to stop sharing my screen real quick. But so for our dance majors, we are looking for a lot of different things. We definitely are looking for your technique. We have a pretty competitive program here at Chapman, and so we want to make sure that you're going to be able to keep up with the pace of the program. But on top of that, our program is very individually based. So we aren't looking for any specific type of style or anything like that. We have some things listed on our website that we're looking for: your lines, your musicality, transitioning to and from the floor, things like that. So all of those are going to be really helpful for you to include in your video. But there's not really any one thing. We want to see your individual style when you're applying, and kind of base it off of that. But we're definitely looking for the technique in there as well. All right, let's see. Perfect. Move to the top of this. Um, Okay, perfect. I see. What is the benefit of having a BFA versus a BA specifically in theater? Is it more marketable? So I'll speak specifically to theater since that is what this question was about. For theater, if you really want to be performance based and really focus in on your acting and honing that craft, I would recommend doing a BFA. Our BA theater, you have the option to take some acting classes. You'll do a little bit and you are able to audition for those performances, but the majority of the curriculum is not focused in that. So the BA theater is going to be a great option if you want to become a theater educator, um, a dramaturge, I think that's the right term. Um, technical theater, work in that craft in any way, a stage manager. There's so many options, work in arts administration, anything like that. There's a ton of great options for that. That doesn't mean that you can't perform, but the curriculum is really honing in your skills in those areas more and more of that well-rounded theater education, whereas the BFA programs are really focused on acting. So you're going to get some experience elsewhere. Theater performance, you're going to get information and curriculum about, theater history and playwriting and all of those kind of things, technical theater. But the majority of your curriculum is focused on that practical experience in acting. And screen acting is the same way, just instead of that theater curriculum, it'll be more about the film industry, being on set and things like that. So it's really, neither one is necessarily more marketable. It's just a matter of what you're hoping to pursue afterwards. And again, the focus of your curriculum in those programs. All right, I do not see a length indicated for the goal statement on for the BFA theater for anything. So those links are going to be on your creative supplement when you go to apply. So you'll be able to see it there. Our dance and music programs have a maximum word count of 500. Our theater programs have a maximum word count of 1,000. So something to keep in mind, you definitely don't need to fulfill that whole word count. Just do whatever you think is going to, best get your point across. But that is the word count for both of those. Okay, see someone who's applying for our screen acting program and asking what kind of things Chapman is looking for in an acting student when we're reading our application. So there's a lot of different things we're looking for. I mentioned before, we want students who are going to be great students. So we're looking for great acting ability, but we also want people who are going to work great with our professors, have a lot of room to grow, and really contribute to our program. And so that's a really important part of that live audition where you can really showcase what kind of a student you're going to be. We're not looking for you to be perfect because that's what you're coming into the program for, is to continue building those skills so that you're coming out of the program fully ready to go into the industry. So being a really great student is a huge thing. I would say also, if you're going specifically for screen acting, it's not a requirement by any means, but it's always helpful to get a little bit of film experience in there. That could be anything. If you're taking a film class, if you've created a short film on your own, whether that's just something you're filming on your phone with your friends, anything like that that's going to give you a little bit of experience is going to give you a bit of a head start in the curriculum that is more film based. Again, not a requirement, but just always a good thing. I know that our faculty like to see, knowing that you're going to be doing a little bit of both. And yeah, I would say those are really the main things. Lastly, also just as a student in general at Chapman, we want you to be a great advocate for yourself. We want to see that you're really passionate about whatever it is that you're applying for and hoping to pursue at Chapman, and see that you've really researched Chapman and that you think you'd be a great fit here. So all of those things can really come through in all of your supplemental questions and your interactions with us and things like that. So those are always great things to try to, emulate in those auditions and in your application. All right. For an actor looking for a future in both stage and screen, would you recommend the BFA in theater performance or in screen acting? So I would say you really want to just think about which you want to focus more on, and I guess which industry you're hoping to learn more about aside from acting itself. So you will be learning some acting techniques that are specific to either stage or screen, but a lot of the difference in the program is going to come from the rest of that curriculum of learning being on set in the industry of movies and TV versus what it's like working in a theater production, every part that goes into it, the stagehands, all of that. So you're gonna get great acting experience in both programs, but it's kind of what knowledge you're gonna get in those, other areas of the industry. So either is a great option. Whatever program you're in, you can still audition for our stage productions that our theater department puts on, which are only open to our theater majors, any of them, BA theater or either of the BFAs. And you can still participate in screen acting as well through student films and things like that. So you're going to have the option to explore both. It's really going to be in that curriculum and in those industry courses that is going to be more of the differentiator. So I would just really think about which of those you're hoping to really dive into and learn more about, on more of the behind the scenes and everything on top of your acting curriculum that you'll be doing. Great questions. Okay, let's see. Can the wildcard video have cuts to show multiple talents? So again, the wildcard video I mentioned, this is just a requirement for our BFA theater programs. And yes, there can be editing in it. I get a lot of questions about, because our requirements do say, please no editing. What this really means is that we don't want you cutting together a performance, taking the best, few seconds and combining them to make your full 2-minute piece or whatever it is. When we say no editing, that's mostly what we want. If it's, dancing or anything like that, we don't want you zooming in and out and stuff like that. We just want a basic shot so that we can really evaluate your talent. But you can do, a title screen and edit into the video or something like that. You can edit if you have two pieces, you can put them together so they play back to back, or you can submit them separately. Either way is fine, but that's kind of more what we mean in the editing. And then certainly in the wildcard video, that one kind of all bets are off. You're able to do whatever you want. It's just a chance for you to showcase that extra skill, hobby, whatever you may want to do there, and for us to get to know you better. So definitely feel free to edit that one a little more if that's going to kind of be more conducive to the type of video you're hoping to make. All right. Let's see. On the Common App, oh, perfect. I think we answered this one as well. 1 second. Okay, I see another question about someone who's interested in the BFA in theater performance, but would also like to take some screen acting classes. So if you are interested in both of those areas, they actually do share some of the curriculum. So you're going to be doing some of those acting courses together in with both the screen actors and the theater performance students. So you're going to get a chance to do a little bit of both, as well as be involved in student films and things like that if you want. Most of the curriculum is dedicated to the students in that major, but there are some opportunities to take classes. And again, especially in those extracurriculars, be involved in screen acting as well. And you'll be doing a lot of the same foundation classes for acting as well. Okay, I see. Oh, we've got someone answering that one. Okay, so I see a question about students who are interested in musical theater and how closely all of our departments work together. So we don't have a musical theater program here at Chapman, but there's definitely a lot of ways that you can explore that as a student here. Our programs all are very collaborative, and we're actually working to even make more opportunities for them to collaborate. All dance, music, and theater. We've been offering some classes that are interdisciplinary courses for all of those students, and we do a lot of interdisciplinary work in, having our dancers perform to music that our music students are composing or performing for them, things like that. So when it comes to musical theater, in our theater department specifically, I would say if you really are passionate about musical theater, our theater performance major is, and you want to perform, our theater performance major is probably going to be the best fit for you. And we have several successful alumni in the musical theater industry that have come out of that program. And as a student in that, you're still able to take vocal classes through vocal lessons and be in vocal ensembles through our music department. You could take dance classes. You could always even do a dance minor, a music minor, anything like that. So there's definitely a lot of ways that you can still incorporate all three of those areas if musical theater is what you're interested in. In our dance department as well, we have a lot of faculty who have a musical theater background. So they're going to have some classes that are really focused in that style. And then what I always really recommend for our students as well is joining clubs on campus. We have a ton of clubs that are musical theater focused, that put on really great productions every year. And so that's a great way to be involved. But our theater department as well usually does a musical performance about every other year. So they will put on some musicals, but it's not as ingrained in the curriculum there. But there's definitely still some courses about it and the option to do theater, music, and dance classes, no matter which major you're in, if musical theater is an interest of yours. Okay, I see. What's the standard cohort size for the screen acting BFA? So all of our theater programs basically take a cohort of about 12 to 15 students. About our screen acting program, I believe this year we will be taking 2 cohorts, so we'll have closer to 24 students total. But yeah, so that's usually about the size. Your class size itself is going to be closer to that 12 to 14 or 15 students for any of those theater majors. But depending on the program, the acceptance rates do vary. Our screen acting program typically has an acceptance rate of around 9 to 10%. That's after your live audition and everything. So the final acceptance rate, theater performance is typically closer to 20 or 25%. So it'll just kind of depend on which program you're applying to. Okay, I see. Is it a good idea to apply for BFA in theater performance and do a second choice major of BA theater? Yes, that is a great option. So because these are both in the same department, we are able to consider you for both of those programs, even though you've only submitted a creative supplement for your theater performance major. So definitely if you're interested in that, encourage you to do it. And if there is a scenario that we think we need to see any more, we'll reach out to you and ask for some additional materials. But typically, our faculty feel like from your application, from your audition, and from talking with you about your interests, they get a good idea if you would be a good fit for that BA theater program. So definitely a great option to do that. I would say the opposite order I would be wary of, just because when you do apply for the BA theater, you don't have that audition component. So without that, you're not going to be able to get accepted into either of our BFA acting programs. But doing BA theater as a second choice is going to be a great option. And again, since it's in that same department, we are able to consider you for that major. So I definitely encourage that. And in your creative supplement as well, even separate from your second choice being listed, you'll actually be asked that. If you want to be considered for the BA theater, for screen acting, for theater performance, you'll have a chance to make sure that you're able to say what your interest is there. Um, all right, I see. Is there a cap or number of incoming freshmen to be accepted? Is there an overall number broken down per department? Great question. So we do have a cap for each of our departments that we're trying to usually stick to, especially in programs. Again, all of our theater programs are pretty small, and so we can only admit a certain number of students. Otherwise, we're going to go over that, and that's just because of that curriculum, the more personalized curriculum and the focus from our faculty. They need a small group of students so that they're able to still give that. So that's why the case is that way for that. For dance, for instance, we usually bring in around 35 to 40 students each year. For music, it's going to vary per department. Again, there's all the different majors as well as all the different instruments. So it varies for every single one of those and kind of what instruments we currently have, and which ones we maybe could use more of. So that one, there's a lot more nuance to. But yes, we do have set numbers of incoming students that we're hoping to be at so that our faculty can have a good pool of incoming students that they can use their resources for and not be overwhelmed by, so they can still give all that attention to all of our students. Okay, I see. What are you looking for in your BFA screen acting students? Polished technique or basic talent and style? So, I mentioned this a little bit before. We're definitely looking for teachability, any film experience, not a requirement, but you can do. We're looking for some talent, of course. It's a pretty competitive program, and we're only, admitting, like I said, 9 to 10% of our applicants. So we do want you to have, that experience in acting and see that you have the potential. But there's really not one thing that we're looking for. And I think that applies for every department. Our programs are really focused on individuality and having that personalized education. So, in that, we aren't wanting all of our applicants to come in with the same background, with the same type of audition. We want a variety. So, it's hard to say exactly, but my biggest piece of advice is just to try to be yourself and really be honest about your goals and anything like that for our acting programs as well, theater performance and screen acting. And if you do choose to do that monologue for BA theater, I would also just say a recommendation I've gotten from my faculty is try to choose monologues that are, close to the character is close to your age. Don't try to choose something with a crazy dialect or anything like that. We're really just looking for your acting, background and talent there. And we'll be able to learn that from your resume as well. So try to choose something that's not, you don't need to try to like wow us with a crazy choice. Choose something that feels like it's a good fit for you and is going to reflect your acting abilities well. Okay, I see. Can BFA theater performance majors also do a dance minor? Yes, definitely. So no matter what major you are at Chapman, you have the ability to add any minor at Chapman. An important thing to know is the only exception to that is if it's a minor that is the same as your major. So a dance major cannot add a dance minor because there's a lot of overlap in the curriculum, for instance. But yeah, BFA theater performance, you can definitely do a dance minor for any of our performing arts majors or visual arts or film school majors or minors, sorry, is what I meant to say. For any of those minors, you do typically have a additional application to get in. So you can't just add the minor. You will have a short application. And for any of these performing arts areas, there'll be a short audition as well. It's a little less competitive than those majors are, but just to keep in mind that you will have to add that to get in. But you wouldn't do that until you're a student at Chapman. And those are typically going to happen in the spring of your first year, whether it's a dance minor or a music minor. We don't have any theater minors at the moment, so it'd be one of those two. But definitely very possible, and we've had several students who've done that. All right. Does auditioning online rather than in person affect your chances of acceptance? This is a really great question. So, in short, no, it doesn't. You're still getting that one-on-one experience of getting to talk with the faculty. If you do a virtual audition, you're going to be doing it over Zoom and you're going to go into a breakout room with the faculty. So you're still getting that chance to interact with them directly, show off your skills in whatever area you're auditioning for. So it's totally up to you in what audition experience is going to work best for you. We know some of you may be living far away, anything like that, which is why we have those virtual options. If that's what you're able to make it to, that's great, and we're happy to see you there. And we do typically admit students, or we always admit students from our virtual auditions. As well as from those in-person auditions. So it's really just a matter of what's best for you. It's always great to come on campus and get to see campus in person. But of course, when it comes to actually being evaluated for your audition, it's not a requirement. One thing I will say is that for our early decision applicants, so that's that binding decision, we only have, for the most part, in-person auditions in our early timeline. So if you do want to apply early decision, it's recommended that you come for an in-person audition in that November, December timeline. Otherwise, we won't be able to get a decision for that early decision timeline, and we may need to roll you into regular so that you can attend one of those later auditions. So that's the only one to keep in mind, that the timeline can be, a little funky, but otherwise, definitely choose what's best for you, whether that's in person, virtual, or regional if it's one of those theater auditions. Um, Perfect. Let's see. How should the monologues be contrasting, comedic and dramatic, or classic and contemporary? So those requirements are going to vary for each major. For theater performance, you are going to do one contemporary monologue that is going to be 1950 to present, or sorry, one contemporary and then one Shakespearean monologue. For screen acting, it's going to be one comedic and one dramatic monologue. An important thing to know is those don't need to be from movie or TV. And in fact, typically our faculty actually recommend you do a monologue from a play, whether you're applying to screen acting or theater performance. But you can do something from a movie. It's just more recommended to do it from a play. But those are the two differences. And then it's a 1 minute requirement for each monologue. So whichever one you're doing, you'll have 2 minutes total of monologues, one of each style. Perfect. What does the audition process for main stage productions typically look like? What kind of shows are performed? So I'm not sure which area this person, Gabrielle, is specifically interested in, but I'll speak a little bit to all of our different areas and the kind of productions we do. So we have many main stage productions every year, typically between 5 and 10 for each department, I would say. And again, all of our students can audition for those. For our fall performances, those auditions are typically happening in the spring before. And then for the spring performances, they take place in the fall. So our freshmen can usually start doing auditioning in the fall, rehearsing and everything to be on stage in the spring. Um, and the auditions are going to vary for every single performance. So it's really going to depend what exact area you're interested in. But that's something I definitely recommend if you can attend any of our virtual events that are coming up soon, ever come to campus, talk to a student. They can kind of give you more of an exact idea of what to expect in those auditions. And they are the ones who've actually been through it. So that'll be great. And then in terms of what kind of shows are performed, so for our dance department, all kinds of different shows. We have shows that showcase faculty choreography as well as a lot of shows that showcase student choreography. So there's a lot of different options there. For theater, it's a combination of some smaller, more intimate shows. Again, we sometimes do musicals, sometimes we have bigger shows. We do some student-directed one acts. So again, a huge variety there. And then same thing goes for music. We have some smaller ensemble performances all the way up into our big orchestra performances. Some performances, this goes for all areas. You get to perform with professionals as well. We have our music department who I think this is coming up soon, or maybe it just passed, are performing with a professional orchestra to do a live screen to stage show of one of the Star Wars movies. We have our dancers dancing with Complexions Dance Company. So a lot of options like that as well, where you get to actually work with professional artists and perform with them sometimes too. So a huge variety when it comes to those main stage productions. Any tips for students, transfer students in dance? If you're applying for dance as a transfer student, I definitely recommend trying to get your application in on the earlier side. So that'll open up in November for you if you're applying for the fall, which our dance program and our theater programs only accept students for the fall. Music, you could do spring or fall. But if you're applying for any of those, I would just say apply early. That will give you some more audition opportunities. And then just kind of be really open to talking about your experience in college, what you're looking for in school now, and kind of why the current program you're in maybe isn't the right fit, whether that's a dance program or something else. And just really do your research with Chapman, especially as a transfer student. You're probably hoping to spend less time there at Chapman. For any of our majors, you're probably going to want to expect still about 3 years. And if it's any of those BFA programs, potentially a full 4 years. So just making sure you know kind of what you're looking for in the program so that you're able to really make the most out of your interaction with the faculty and in those auditions, and knowing that it's going to be a good fit for you. Are there any genres of monologues you don't want? So for those theater performance, not really. I would say, again, try to choose something that's age appropriate and not, any different dialect or anything like that. You don't need to do an accent. But we're really looking for anything as long as it falls into those categories of if it's screen acting, comedic or dramatic, or if it's theater performance, contemporary or Shakespearean. It's totally up to you and what piece you'd want to do for that. Um, and then I see one other question about what the 8 semesters are going to look like for classes in screen acting. We actually have matrices online that show you the breakdown for all the classes you're going to take each year. So I recommend kind of Googling that and you'll see, or you can always send me an email at copaadmit@chapman.edu, and I'd be happy to send that to you as well so you can see that in our course catalog. Um, but all right, I think that is all of our questions. I don't see any more, and we're also right at time at 6:30. So thank you all for listening. I hope this was helpful for you. And again, just feel free to reach out if you do have any follow-up questions after this. But hopefully I'll see you all on campus or at auditions or something soon. And have a great rest of your night. Thank you all.